The Gulf Coast Growth Show is sponsored by Chevron Pasadena Refinery and is an extension of the Economic Alliance Houston Port Region, where our mission is to market and grow a vibrant regional economy. All right, guys, and hey, welcome back to the Gulf Coast Growth Show. I'm your host, Jason Lee, here with my co-host, Zeke Smith.
What's up, Jason?
Great to see you this morning.
Thank you, brother.
We're joined by Ms. Jenny Meyer, the president and CEO of JEM Advisors. Jenny, great to see you this morning.
I am thrilled to be here.
Yeah, so we had a great lunch a few weeks ago, and you were telling me your story. It was just blew me away, and I was like, we've got to get you on the show. And you've been a fantastic member here at the Economic Alliance, and so we just had to drag you down here, and immediately she's like, we're going to make it happen, and here we are today. So, Jenny, real quick, we're going to dive in. This show is going to talk a little bit about really the success of having built a company and kind of the adversity of doing that as a business owner. Being a woman-owned business, I think, is critical, and I think we've put a lot of emphasis in the last couple of years on the just really women in industry. And I think your story is a kind of a signature one that we can share for that particular reason. Yeah. And then also we're going to talk a little bit about mental health awareness. I know it's really important to us here as an organization in the industry. It's like his heartbeat, right? He wakes up and goes after it every single day. He's making a huge impact there. I think you have a story to share there as well. And so we're excited to have that. So before we dive in though, Jenny, a little bit about your background, a little bit about your company. Tell us about that.
So I'll start with my story about how JEM Advisors started. JEM Advisors.
Okay.
We started out as JEM. A client kept referring to one of our reports that they actually use for onboarding for executives as the JEM report. And so eventually we became JEM, but it is JEM. So there's that. So I actually started my career in Houston as administrative support, 8 years in private equity, oil field services. I took some time off, and when it was time to go back to work, I found a job basically as a jazzed up executive assistant for a small consulting firm in the refining, midstream, petrochemical industry. Not my industry. I think I started March 22nd of 2017, and within a couple of days, I realized I'm in over my head. I don't understand this language. I don't understand the players in this industry. I'm in trouble. 6 days into the new role, my son commits suicide.
Oh my God.
Yeah. We all deal with trauma, tragedy differently. I chose to throw myself into this new role. I quickly learned the players. I learned the language. Within months, I was promoted to VP Business Development. I sold my first project. I started a leadership team. Finally, for the first time in my life, I realized what I'm passionate about. It's leading teams, it's growing companies. Within a few more months, I was promoted to SVP Business Development. Fast forward to May 2019, I started up shop with JEM, and we turned 5 in May. We are fiercely proud of what we have built with this company.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Congratulations. And now a little bit about you guys. Tell us a little bit about what you do and the business in and of itself. How it's evolved. I mean, I know it started, and then there's been a lot of kind of whirlwinds from the beginning.
Yeah.
Let's back up. Actually, let's go to the beginning, because the timeline's kind of crazy. Because I know you started, and then didn't you start like either right at the beginning of COVID or right before it? Like, walk us through that.
Yes. So started up shop May of 2019. First clients we were invoicing by July of 19. March 20. We all remember when the world shut down. We weren't even a year old, and I thought our biggest client at the time cut their CapEx by 80%. I thought we're done. But I think just because people were let go and we had the expertise that could help companies, we did some digital work then too. We tripled revenue in 20.
Hot.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
very impressive.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, we're again very, very proud.
Right.
What type of services are you offering your customers? It's just to summarize for the dummies in the room like myself.
So our biggest strength is operational readiness for capital projects. So helping our clients stay as close to budget, on schedule, and start up reliably and safely. We do the big bucket of operational excellence. So we help our clients solve problems, whatever they may be. And then we also do quite a bit of transactional due diligence. So the guys will go in and we'll look under the hood at a refinery. We'll review data rooms, come up with reports, CapEx plans to whatever the asset is to get it running as well as it can.
So is this like post-decision? So a company says, hey, we want to do this project, right? A big expansion, but we're not sure. Let's call Jenny and the team and make sure that have somebody, a third party or a more objective perspective say, yep, good idea, or maybe not such a good idea.
Exactly.
Okay.
From the technical standpoint, but also from a strategic standpoint,
Sure.
and then commercial as well.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Makes sense.
So, talk to us a little bit about your team, right? So, because I mean, to be able to have that level of depth and step into this environment, I mean, I would imagine you've got some pretty big rock stars as part of the JEM group.
Yeah. Well, so JEM doesn't happen without the team.
Right.
So we have a bunch of guys who have spent their careers, some 40 years in industry. Most of them are operators. And so they just know why we do things the way we do in industry.
Right.
I have several more of the technical guys. I have some ladies who are whizzes at compliance and regulations. And then we do have some commercial, more strategic people as well.
Fantastic.
And you brought these folks out of industry, right? So some of these were early retirees or retirees from some of the big owners and operators in the region. Is that correct?
Retirees, or they like to say graduates
There you
from
go.
industry.
There you go.
Yeah. And so they're very passionate about giving back to industry. So yeah, then I think that's why it works really well. They don't all want to work full time. I've almost been fired a couple times because we get really busy and trips are canceled. But yes, exactly. We're Chevron heavy with our background, but that has only helped us.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
We're a fan of Chevron.
Yeah.
We like them. Big sign behind us.
Yes.
Something I thought was interesting in our conversation that you said that I think you should share is that you've got these guys and gals from industry with lots of experience. And I thought it was pretty profound that they chose to come, that you thought it was profound that they chose to come work for you, right? And these guys may not need the money, may not, need to go work somewhere else, but chose to work for you for a myriad of reasons. So if you'd share that, like what you think is special about that, and you don't have to brag about yourself, but like just that, I thought it was really cool. And I can tell you think it's really cool that these guys chose to come work for me. I think it's awesome.
Right. 40-year vets, and they're saying, oh, I'm part of Jenny's team.
Yeah.
It was, especially when they call me boss, like this morning, I had a phone call with a team that's looking at an asset right now. It's almost unexplainable. I think it's because of my story. I think it's because of my authenticity. You guys know this well enough. Operators don't jump in the trenches with just anybody.
Sure.
So I'm just profoundly blessed that they are on my team.
Yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic. Let's shift gears.
So you mentioned briefly, of course, the jump off point was a traumatic event, obviously, the death of your son. So and obviously mental health is a passion topic for you as well. I've seen you post on social media that you think it was almost the catalyst that helped you start your business. And I don't think I've ever seen that before. People say, hey, I started doing this, or I took better care of myself, or changed habits. You're like, no, I'm going to start a company because that's what I dove off into business, and I know I can help people. And so kind of explain how that traumatic event has led to success and why mental health still is so important to you professionally and personally.
Because of my experience, I'm a huge believer that great things can come from deepest tragedy. Again, it's a choice that you make. I believe that this happened, and I also believe that I've got to turn it into something, right? And it took me a minute to talk about his death. Now it's part of my elevator pitch when it's relevant or appropriate.
Sure.
And I feel like if I'm talking about it and shining that light, then other people feel like they can say it as well. I've been in boardrooms with executives, and they ask me Jenny, we understand why your team's here, but you? And that's a totally fair question. And when I tell the story, we'll leave that boardroom and an executive will pull me aside and say, hey, I lost a sibling to suicide. That is meaningful to me. And hopefully that helps them speak up. Hopefully it helps them if they see a friend or a family member who is struggling, that they say something. Because I think a lot of times we don't want to discuss it. It's not a fun subject. Yep.
It's a huge first step just to start talking about it and making it part of the language in a company and industry, because those kind of things happen more and more often. It's certainly happened in Apache as we've started talking about it more and more. Awareness is the first step, and yes, there's a lot more work to do, but just starting to say, this is something we can and will and do talk about here. Those things pop up. Oh yeah, I had this, or not just always suicide, but just mental health issues in general, right? Oh, my son's struggling, or my sister has struggled with it, or my mom and dad, or whatever. But I think you opening that door to say, hey, I'm not ashamed of telling the story. In fact, it was a jumping off point that I had to refocus my life, and here we are, right? So it's potentially a reason for my success, because it was such a motivator. So I think it's awesome. So congrats to you on all that.
Oh, thank you. It is the reason for my success.
So speaking of success, tell us about big news of the company. What's going on? You just said you're about to celebrate 5 years. You guys going to have a big throwdown party for that, or what are we doing? And do we get the invite, more importantly?
You'll absolutely get the invite. Great. Maybe it's a crawfish boil. I don't know.
There we go.
It's May 6th, actually. So my team doesn't like kudos at all. So I'm very careful about how I manage the message with them. We'll definitely have a celebration together. It's more of just, we sort of look at each other and go, oh my gosh, 5 years and we've made a profit, which is really, that's not normal for any small company, young company. And I bootstrapped this thing. So super proud of that. Big news, we're in growth mode right now. We're about to hit, very close to probably this month, hit another big revenue goal. We have published 2 articles, one on operational readiness, one on operational excellence in hydrocarbon processing. We have 2 more in the pipes. So we're super thrilled about that. Yeah. One of the team members' grandson is actually the artist of the comics in the article. So we think that's pretty cool.
That is cool.
And then we just brought on a VP of business development too. So I foresee us in the next 5 years transforming.
Certainly, yeah. I think that 5 to 10 year period sometimes can be more critical than the 1 to 5 year, right? As you grow and hopefully don't get over your skis, if you will, but you learn how to grow sustainably, which is important.
Exactly.
Awesome.
So I know we had you on the show for this reason. We needed to share your story. I think it's a great story. And I think you've made it a point to make sharing your story something that you do. Like, right, it's part of your DNA now. And we're kind of jumping ahead around on the agenda, but I think it's a good flow piece to want to make sure we capture this. You recently spoke to a group of I think it was young women about your story. And when you kind of set out to go do that, so tell us a little bit about your backdrop first and foremost with that particular event. Who was it? How did it go? And then are you doing that on a regular basis? Is this like a mission of yours? Talk to us a little bit about like speaking and what that looks like for you in the future.
It's something that I really want to do, especially now that I have a story. Mm-hmm. I was invited to speak to a group of young women at the University of St. Thomas. It was their Women's Empowerment Conference, and I was a keynote speaker because of my story. At first, I was a little reluctant because I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole, but I think the bigger message to this group of young women is, look, if we're all honest, life is tough. And it may not be a suicide. It could just be in their lives a breakup or failing a class. You could get fired. It could be a million things. You can survive that. You can overcome it. You can actually use that story to change your life, but also inspire and change the lives of others. And I think that's really important. And I think some of the lessons that I shared with them is, look, resilience, it's real. That 4-letter word, grit, that's nothing to be ashamed of. Don't quit. Surround yourself with the right people. And then again, use your story, use your passion to make a difference.
Love it. And you're doing some work, I believe, with Women's Group here for the Alliance. Is that correct? A member of committees and conferences and all kind of stuff. You mind kind of getting into that with us a little bit? So
I'm really excited to be with the Women in Alliance. I really believe in the work that they do in their leadership conference. They're fantastic. And again, it's getting the message out there that, look, we're women in industry, but that doesn't stop us. The sky's the limit. And again, sharing your stories and talking about, the obstacles that you feel and how you overcome them. When we're all talking about that, we come up with ideas, we support each other. And it's really, really important for all of us.
Yeah.
I think also encouragement, right, for those that are listening, because you said, now that you have a story, and I think the catalyst of the adversity that you faced, having now gone through the loss of your son, and then having to then launch and or successfully start a business through some headwinds, and so it's a cool story, right? But for those that are listening, don't also, you don't have to have that story for your story to matter, right? So it's an encouragement to those that are out there that your story might not be that story, but you do have a story. And I think the encouragement here is especially for women in industry and those that are perhaps such, like, your struggle is significant to you, right? And I think a lot of times we forget that, like, it could be a divorce. It could be just having to come up without education. It could be not having your parents around. It could be the fact that you're a woman in a male-dominated industry and you're having to fight through that stuff. I mean, my wife shared stories when she started in the industry. She started in logistics and work, basically showing up to warehouses to work every day, trying to sell logistics. And that was let's just say the environment was not very conducive to how you would want, like, I wouldn't want my daughter being talked to like that, right? So if you're listening, though, just the encouragement is take this and go, hey, what's my story? And then how do I then go out and plug myself in? Because it's not so much your story as much making a decision to create a platform for it. And that platform can be in organizations like this. It can be plugging, because what you're doing is, even if you had the story, if you didn't take any action to share it, then it would just be this really cool story that no one ever got to hear about, right? But you didn't have to go out and just to take action, which you've done, right? You're a super connector. You're plugged into organizations. You're making a difference. You're getting involved with things like this, involved with Women in Alliance. And I think that's probably the catalyst to how do you go do it? You got to go take action on it all. As we get ready to wrap up, you shared a lot of great stuff today. Is there anything that resonates with you or that you want to make sure we capture before we get off the show?
No, this has been great. Thank you, guys. I think it's exactly what you said, that you don't have to have a story like mine. You just need to get out there and be courageous. I think that's a big thing too. I like to say bold and fearless. Fearless is a little tricky because I get scared all the time.
Yeah.
Like right before I walked into here. It's more about fearing less, embracing your fear and taking that big breath and speaking up, or, taking that job in industry, because you can. The obstacles, I think a lot of times that we feel, they're not real, or there are ways to work around them.
Yep. They're not as high as we think they are, right?
Exactly.
And I just want to just say, to lighten the mood, just briefly, we definitely set the record for using the word story the most ever in the history of podcasting.
That's probably true.
And you may have just said it 16 times in one sentence.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's great. Yeah. So we love stories.
Right.
Stories are great.
That's right.
That's my story.
There you go. There you go.
So for those that are listening to, right, so you serve, just again, because some people might have got wrapped up in the conversation we were having, and lost track of the beginning, which is what you guys do. Let's wrap up, because I want to make sure someone's hearing this and they say, I probably should reach out to Jenny. The people you serve, right? Your end user is
midstream, refining, petrochemical. I want to go farther than that, though, and bring it into all manufacturing. Food processing industry really needs some help right now. I think the tenets of operational excellence transcend industry. And so,
okay.
Anybody that needs help with their capital projects, with continuous improvement, with safe and reliable operations, with looking at an asset they may want to purchase, that's us.
So at the end of the day, it's a third party eyes that can come in and help add value to that area. So if you're looking to enhance that part of your business, that's JEM Advisors, JEM Advisors is who you'd want to reach out to.
How do we get a hold of you?
Yeah, and how do people reach you?
The website, gemfirm.com. I'm pretty prominent on LinkedIn. And the way I work is I'm not the operator. I talk to you, I listen to what you're dealing with, what your issues are, and I connect you immediately with one of my team members who can help.
Fantastic. And then so she's able to be found pretty easily on LinkedIn. And then also if you're looking for a great speaker for one of your events and or something to somebody to come out and inspire and motivate, she's a great resource for that as well. So Jenny, you've been great, been a fantastic guest today. We do appreciate it. And for our audience, again, we thank you for tuning in. We're always glad to have you stay connected to us. And I don't want to say stories. I'm trying
Do
to
it.
I'm trying to not.
Do
Did I do it again?
No, that's not do it.
We do appreciate you as always tuning in. If you have questions, you'd want to reach out to myself or Zeke on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You can connect to us. Or if you have any feedback for us, we'd love to hear from you. If you want to connect to the organization, subscribe and get plugged into all of our great events. You can go to allianceportregion.com. And then under the media tab, you can collect and under events and find any of the great things that are going on here at the organization. So stay tuned in and we look forward to seeing you guys next week.